Hi, guys. John, the firearms instructor, and welcome to our live. If you don't know who I am, my name is John Johnson. I'm the owner and operator of a firearms training facility in beautiful Cape Coral, Florida. We specialize in you. We specialize in a new student that needs help learning how to shoot, and these lives are set up for us to give you information. We started our YouTube channel many months ago to entertain, educate, and have some fun and motivate. So I hope we do all three of those tonight for you. We have a great live this evening. We're going to be talking about the best revolvers for a newbie. Well, it doesn't have to be a newbie. Anybody who's looking to add a revolver to a portfolio, this is going to be a great one for you. I've picked out a couple different manufacturers. I've gone through what kind of revolvers are out there and everything else like that. So now the question is, how are you guys doing? How is the evening going on for you? How was the day's work? Hopefully, it went through very quickly and very fast. Now, keep in mind, we are a live gun range. So we are open till 7 o'clock every evening. The employees are back there helping students at this point in time. So sooner or later this evening, you're going to hear some loud noises, some bangs, some gunshots, maybe. And that is our students and our people renting the range. We're open 7 days a week, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week. That is 7 days a week, John, dumbass. And we are open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Thursday, Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday, we close at 6 o'clock. Now, Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays, we have range time all day. And then during the week, anytime after 1 o'clock, we are have range time. And if you wanted to get down and shoot with us, we would love to have you. We specialize in the new student at all times. So the homework here, real quick. A large percentage of you watch these programs every Wednesday night, and I surely do appreciate that. But if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I would love you to do that for me. It helps with the algorithms, it helps with other things that we get here. We do have our super chats that are turned on, and we do have our memberships. For $2.99, you can support my family and this channel with a donation monthly with stuff like this. Now, you don't have to do any of that. Just you being on the call, on the live, is enough support. But we things cost money to do things, and that little support helps us out tremendously. We started this YouTube channel not for the fact of making any big money on it. We're lucky. I'm very fortunate. People love what we're doing. We got over 27,000 subscribers. We're over a million, 4 million views on our videos that we've done so far. We've got almost 400 videos out there at this point in time, and we keep adding them, and adding them. And we're just doing it for you guys, to be honest with you. So if you find any value in what we do this evening, if you could give me a little bit of make sure you subscribe or anything else like that, that would help tremendously. So don't forget to comment. Let me know where you're from if you're new or you haven't seen us before or you're new to the channel. We would appreciate a comment. Now, if you're watching it live, please let us know you watched it live and where you're watching it. Tonight, we are streaming on my Facebook pages, my business Facebook page, my personal Facebook page, and my YouTube channel. So you can let us know FB if you're on Facebook and YT if you're on YouTube, and that'll help us out tremendously. You can comment, let us know what you like and what you don't. Now, I'm going to ask you real quick. One thing I'd like you to do for me this evening, if you could, is let me know if you have a revolver or have you been thinking about getting a revolver. And if you do have a revolver, what is it? And let me know. Let me know what you have and what you've been using. And I picked out a bunch of different stuff, and we're going to cover a bunch of this tonight. I am feeling just a tad bit under the weather. I don't know what it is. I'm just feeling a little icky. So we are not going to spend a lot of time uh, this evening doing a bunch of this stuff, but it's about 15 or 16 pages of this PowerPoint presentation. And anytime that I say something or you want to add a comment, I'll keep flipping over to the comments to let people know or answer any questions that we have. And the very end of this, we'll open it up to questions. And those questions basically can be anything, to be honest with you. Obviously, we would love to hear about you and your success at the range. When's the last time you shot a pistol or anything else like that? Would be awesome. All right, so let's get started. Let's go ahead and add this to the screen. Boom, there we go. And I'm going to make it bigger. I think this always works best if we make it full screen. All right, 7 best revolvers for beginners. Now, obviously, you don't have to be a beginner. If you don't have a revolver in your portfolio now, adding a revolver is not a bad idea. There's a lot of neat little things that revolvers. There are a couple of these revolvers I'm showing you a picture of right now. Couple are hammered. One is looks like one's a hammerless there. There are so many different. Some guys carry revolvers for carry purposes. A lot of that's a Smith and Wesson ultralight in the center. That looks like a 686, and that one on the bottom looks like it's a small 357 of some kind. Now, why add a revolver? Why add a revolver or a wheel gun to your portfolio? Because you can, guys. Because you can. I mean, they are so much fun. If you spend any time at all shooting, you want to graduate to something else, to something else, to something else, and having some fun with the revolvers. Now, some revolvers have 5 rounds, some revolvers have 6 rounds, some have 7. There are a ton of stuff out there. If you try 22s, sometimes you can get up to 8 or 9 rounds in a revolver shooting a 22, which is kind of a cool little deal. And the people always go, "I wouldn't use a 22 for self defense." I can tell you this: I've deer hunted and all my life, and I've killed a bunch of hogs, and most have been killed with a 22. So I can tell you that 22 will do what it needs to do. But that's up to you guys. So, what makes a good beginning revolvers? Now we're going to discuss this. I'm here to help you. If you're new to revolvers and you're looking for the best one, this live is for you. Now we're going to cover a lot of different stuff tonight. You might think about grabbing a pen or a pencil. Now this is live, so basically once it's uploaded to YouTube, you already have a copy of it, guys. You already have a copy of it that you could share with your friends and your family members. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not telling you that you don't want a semi-automatic pistol because you do. You want that semi-automatic pistol. Matter of fact, as a firearms instructor, if someone came in here today wanting a gun for their wife or gun for their daughter, I would never recommend a revolver for the first gun for them to buy. I'll say that again. I would never recommend a revolver for the first gun for you to buy. Although they're simplistic, they have a high recoil management problem and a heavy trigger pull problem. A lot of the revolvers can have up to a 10-pound trigger pull, which causes a lot of anticipation and muzzle uncontrol because you're trying to engage a trigger with a slow cadence and you tend to pull it an awful lot. So, do I recommend a revolver? Yes. Do I recommend the revolver be the first thing you buy? No. How many women come in here that went out to Bass Pro Shop or went out to the gun store and some guy at the gun store said, "Hey, you can only shoot a revolver because women can't rack a slide," which is absolutely insane. We have women here come into the store all the time shooting semi-automatic pistols. I would highly recommend a semi-automatic pistol first, but I would still add a revolver to your portfolio because why? They are simplistic. You open the cylinder, you put the rounds in, you close the cylinder, you pull the trigger. That's as simple as it is. Now, a lot of the smaller revolvers, there's not a lot of real estate on them, so the sighting systems on those can be a little more challenging. With a semi-automatic pistol, you have a two dot system in the back and a one dot system in the front. Your sighting system's there, and it becomes easier and you have easier trigger pull. But with a revolver, you got to kind of work on it. But if you remember the one thing I always tell you guys, a level pistol shoots level. And if you got that barrel level, you are going to make sure that bullet's going to be level without pulling it. You can't pull the trigger, you need to press the trigger. I had a customer today. We were busy today, guys. I had back to back to back. Somehow or another, I'm going to blame Jacob, I think. But none of these, from 11 o'clock to 1:30 or 2, we had back to back to back customers that all said I scheduled them all at the same time. Now, I don't think I make that big of mistakes, but sometimes I do. And it all worked out today. So we were very fortunate. All the customers were very polite and they all got to shoot around. I love doing classes with just us, nobody else in the room. But once we get past 1 o'clock, we're in open range and we have to shoot around people. Now, do I spoil you when you come here and you're shooting by yourself and no one else is shooting? Absolutely. Is that helping you or hurting you? Well, I could tell you it probably helps you in the beginning. The lady today, bless her heart, she's wonderful, but she was totally not. This was not for her. She was not. Nope, nope, nope. Tears were flowing. Everything was flowing. They convinced her to shoot, and then I got hold of her and told her that it was just a tool. And by the time we were done, she was running the gun like a champ. So, that stuff works best when we're by ourselves. But we had people shooting around us, and that helped her tremendously because she was hearing the recoil from other places. And of course, I was coddling her, holding her hand through the whole process. And she came out of here smiling, getting her color back, and at that point in time was very comfortable running the guns, and I was so proud of her at that point in time. So what makes a good revolver? The one that you like. That's the key, man. The one that you like. So let's talk about what type of revolvers. Now, there are single action revolvers, there are double action revolvers, and there's double action only. And I'll explain each one of these, but you can kind of see it here with these two I've picked out. In short, we have three types of revolvers to consider. So we're going to break them down. But if you look at the top one, that is a standard revolver. It has a trigger, it has a hammer. If I were to open the cylinder, which is that piece right here above the trigger, right below the hammer, this piece, if you push that forward, that opens that cylinder up. And then you can put, there's going to be holes, and you're going to put rounds in those holes. Then you're going to close it. Then you're going to put your hands on there, and you're going to slowly engage that trigger. When you press that trigger back, that hammer slowly begins to go to the rear. And when it gets to a point, it breaks and it comes forward and slams onto the firing pin. And that would be considered double action. Now, take that same revolver and cock it before you fire it. Two things happen. The hammer being pulled back takes the trigger back or the trigger travel back all the way to the wall of that trigger well. So that means that if you were to cock the hammer, that secondary trigger engagement would be super light. So if we were going to take poundage, for instance, let's take a double action revolver. Let's say it has a 10-pound trigger pull, which means it takes 10 pounds of pressure to engage that trigger back into it fire. When you cut, when you cock it back, it takes 3 pounds, maybe four. It's going to be a very light trigger pull. That's why you never in the movies you always see the bad guys cocking the gun, but in real life form, you would never want to cock it in your home. You would just want to run that double action trigger because that double action trigger would be the safest if you think about it because a 10-pound trigger pull is a lot safer than something that's got a very hairpin trigger. That would be very dangerous. Put your finger on trigger and it just cuts without you putting any pressure on it at all. Very unlikely that would do that. But some people take these guns and try to adjust the trigger pull on them, which any good gunsmith would never do because that's a safety violation in itself. But the lighter the trigger engagement, the more dangerous it could be in the wrong hands. And then the one below it is double action only. This double action only pistol, which means that hammer is missing. It's not there. So this means you're going to have the same trigger engagement, that 10-pound trigger pull, each time you engage the weapon. And the reason why that hammer's not there, it's more for snag proof. If I were to put the revolver in my jacket pocket and I went to go grab that revolver to have to use it and it snagged on one of my pockets, I would be impeding myself from getting out in a timely manner. So we have single action, and double action only. And I will explain each one of these as we go. So you kind of have an idea what the single action revolver. This is a picture of a Heritage Rough Rider. These are very popular. They come with two cylinders. They come with a 22 long rifle cylinder and a 22 magnum cylinder. And we call this style the cowboy style because it's sort of like the cowboy guns of the past. We've all seen John Wayne and all these guys use these guns. And this is the one that you watched in the movies. They would fan it. In other words, they take their hand and slap that trigger, that hammer back. And as they did that, the weapon would fire. It's something you see on the cowboy, Wyatt Earp, and all that stuff like that. The disadvantage of this, more than anything else, is if that hammer's not back, the weapon will not fire. And then it's loading and unloading. It's not very easy. There's an actual a trunk on these. There's a terminology you've heard before, and it talks about don't go around half cocked. And when you put this trigger into a half cocked position, the cylinder will spin. If the cylinder's spinning, it will not fire. So it has to be either cocked or not cocked. It can't be half cocked. And then once you half cock it, you can open it and put one round per cylinder and then close it. Once you close the trunk, you cock it, fire it, cock it, fire it, cock it, fire it, cock it, fire it, cock it, fire it until it's empty. And then now you have to get the rounds out of there. And I don't know if you can see this, but on this weapon itself, down here below the barrel, is a secondary small barrel. And that actually has a rod ejector in it. And you take that rod injector, open up your trunk, and push and put the gun at half cock and push that back each time. And that's going to eject the original casing. And then you put a new one in there. Are they fun? Yes. Are they the best home defense gun ever? Absolutely not. Are they inexpensive? Very inexpensive. Very fun. They come in different styles, different barrel lengths. They actually make a 21-inch barrel on this. They make it 4, they make it 6, 8. They have little bar keeps that are like 1.5. I mean, they're all kinds of stuff. Pretty guns, wood frames. The good neat thing about these is they come with different cylinders. Now I'm showing you a 22 here, but the old cowboy guns come in 44 Magnum. They come in the 357. They come in 38, 32. There's a lot of different cowboy style 45 long colt. They come in a lot of different revolver styles, and each one of those we have to kind of work on our recoil management a little bit because the recoil management on a 22 is very little. Where one with a 44 Magnum, that's going to be somewhat of a handful. So that single action revolver is very popular. It's something that most people do buy. shoot it for a while, but never really shoot it forever. I would, if I was doing this because of the cylinder lock that it has, I would try to move up into a better cowboy gun that opens the cylinder flops open to be able to do it. And I'll show you those in a second. Get into a cowboy style that would be the cylinder would open for us. All right, so there's cowboy style. Let's go to the next one. All right, double action. Here we go. This is Dirty Harry. This is Clint Eastwood and his big revolvers. These are that zombie group there. He had a big revolver he was using, and double action revolvers are pretty good. I think this is a photo of a 686 plus. And this is a 4-inch barrel, looks like. And if you look at the back of that gun right off the bat, there's adjustable sights on there. That's one of the things missing on a lot of revolvers. You just have a blade and valley system. So on that little single action pistol I showed you a little bit ago, there is a U on the actual frame, and there is a blade up front, and those U and blade need to be put together to make the gun level. Where this one here, there is adjustable right or left back U, and it has that red front post up there that makes it pretty easy. Advice for you as a revolver goes is there is no shark finning of the front blade. We need to make sure we bury it into the back sight as best we can. Again, I'll say it to you, a level gun shoots level. If the front post is low and the back post is high, you're going to shoot low, ladies and gentlemen. Same thing of that. If it shoots high, your front post is high, excuse me, and you have your lower sight and the back low, you're going to shoot high. So that's kind of one of those deals. Double action revolver fires by cocking the hammer, then pulling the trigger. All right. In fashion, it's a very short trigger and crisp. So if I cock this gun, that trigger housing, that trigger goes all the way back to the very back wall of that trigger well and makes it a very light trigger pull. But if I were to engage the trigger by not touching the hammer, it's going to be a longer trigger pull. And those are kind of the safer trigger pulls. Like I said earlier, the 10-pound versus the 4 pounds. Each time you pull that trigger, that hammer comes back. Now, there's a term we use when we're shooting a revolver to be more accurate, and it's called staging. And staging of the trigger is taking the trigger back right to the edge before the hammer falls forward. And when you get that to that point and you're really comfortable, then you can keep the gun level. Once it's level, then you could finalize the sight system and finish it. And that's called staging of the trigger. That's a little earlier than most people who are going to be new to shooting. But the semi-automatic pistol can shoot a 3-inch group if with someone who knows what they're doing, and 30, 40 feet, no issue. When you shoot a revolver, you can do the same, but you got to be real careful with the trigger engagement. But if I took that 6-inch paper plate, put it out there in front of you at 33 or 34 feet, and you kept the gun level, you could put every round in that paper plate. Because remember, it's mostly about recoil management, and we're not really getting we need to control this weapon. The grip's a little different on a revolver versus a semi-automatic, and all of our power comes from our non-dominant hand, and that's a thumb over thing that I'll show you. I did a video a while back, revolvers, and I did the grip of the revolver, which I'd recommend you go watch that video because we shot a bunch of different revolvers in that to kind of give you an idea of what we liked and what we didn't like. But the double action revolver is the most popular of the revolvers out there because it is gives you that longer. Remember, the longer the barrel, the more sight alignment we have, the more sight alignment we have, the more accurate we'll be. That's why those short barrel, the carry guns are just not designed for accuracy purposes. They're just designed for vital triangle areas, a bigger area, 8-inch paper plates and stuff like that. All right. And here is the double action revolver. This is Taurus's Ultralight 85. These are economically one of the kind of the best of the best, really, without spending a ton of money. Taurus has their finger on a lot of different stuff. There's a bunch of guns Tauruses make. The revolvers, they've got their stuff figured out on that. So I would never ever hesitate if someone walked in and they wanted a tracker or any larger Taurus line revolver. I would highly recommend it. And they normally give you an extra round or two where standard revolver is 5 rounds. Some of these Tauruses can come 7 rounds, seven and 8 round revolvers, which is pretty cool. And I told you before, when you do 22, you can be up to 9. Double action only means the hammer engage. There is no hammer on this gun. It's a single trigger pull engages the weapon each time. There's no visible hammer or spur or cocking, or which would cock the revolver. The gun is built for concealment, self defense purposes, and usually sports a fairly compact design. This weapon weighs very little when you put this in your hand, just like the Smith and Wesson Ultralight 442. Man, those things are super light, but when you have a light gun shooting a 38 revolver round out of it, they got some recoil, buddy. They got some recoil. Now, here's what I'll tell you. Obviously, getting a 357 each time to buy a revolver adds some high end money to it. And at the end of it, if you're not physically going to be shooting a ton of 357 each time, why spend the money on the three? I get it. I get 100% why, because we could run the 357 on a regular basis when we're carrying it, but when we're at the range, we can kind of take it down a few notches, if that makes sense. But if you're not going to shoot a 357 on a regular basis, just shoot the 38. 38 is going to do exactly what you need to do. The 357 will be hotter. You're going to get a lot more recoil management out of it. Ideally buy the 357, because if you don't know, 357, 357 Magnum and a 38, you can shoot a 38 through a 357. Can't do that in reverse. You can't shoot a 357 through a 38. It's just a smidge bigger, and it will not fit, if that makes sense. So highly, highly recommend, if you can get a 357 in Taurus, do it. But in the long run, the 38 will do what you need to do anyway, especially when you get the hollow points in there and stuff like that. All right. So, what to look for when you're choosing a revolver? Now, this is kind of one of those deals that it's all on you. What are you looking for? What are you wanting? Are you wanting something for home defense? Most likely. Are you wanting something for carry? Maybe. Are you looking for something for range time? Yes. So, all three of those need to be considered when you're carrying. Listen, when you have a 4-inch 357 Smith and Wesson, um, uh, I don't, whatever, whatever big revolver you're thinking, 4-inch barrel. That thing's heavy. That thing's heavy. It's going to be hard to conceal. It's going to be uncomfortable. What tends to happen at that point in time, if it's not comfortable, are you going to carry it on a regular basis? So we need to think about right off the bat, what is my plan? What am I going to do with this revolver? All right. Now that we looked at the three revolvers, let's go over the features you're looking for when shopping. Here we go. What's the purpose of the revolver? Now, this right here shows the cylinder open and the rounds in. Now, this is a picture of a LCR from Ruger, and it looks like it's a 38. There's a five shot revolver. These are ultra light. They have a lot of neat features. You can't see it, but the one thing I like about Rugers is they have that front white blade, and that front white blade is not on the tip of that front blade. It's about down from it. And if you put that white blade in that valley, now you can't hardly see that valley, but it's kind of showing you a little mark right there. If you put that white blade in that valley, that gun will be level. And these are super ultra lightweight. So personal protection revolver would be awesome. I'm not sure if 5 rounds is going to be enough in a scenario where there's 5 people. Now you could always do the Jack Reacher thing. My wife and I love Jack Reacher. And when he talks about, yeah, I'm gonna, you know, this guy's gonna do this, that. He goes, no, that's not going to happen. I'm gonna knock you down, and the rest of you are gonna run away. And then he says, the guy, he says, I think it was Tom Cruise. He says, well, I'm gonna leave one of you standing for you could take the rest of them to the hospital. And he punched the one guy, and the rest of them all went away. So 5 shots, better to have it, not need it, need it, not have it. A lot of guys are now carrying what's called backups. A backup pistol, maybe a little 380, maybe a revolver, maybe something else, but it does give you some extra backup power. Now, when you start carrying a Glock 19 on your side and a revolver in your in your sock, I mean, it gets a little carried away. But where's the challenge on this revolver? Can someone tell me that? The idea of this revolver, where's our challenge is that little barrel. How small is that barrel? How accurate you think that little revolver is going to be, because the bullet cannot stabilize well enough because it's only in that 1.75-inch barrel for a very short period of time as it punches through there going towards the target. So the revolver for personal protection, probably pretty good. For home defense, maybe. Range time? No, not really. They're tough. They're tough to shoot. Now, do you need to do range time with revolvers? Yes, twice as much as you need to do with your semi-automatic. Your semi-automatic pistol has a lighter trigger engagement. It has a easier easier racking slide, easy to do, and you got to get comfortable. We get the muscle memory. Now, I put competitive shooting in there because they have a lot of these IDPA and in the defensive carry tournaments where they have what's called a backup gun class where you have to use a small pistol, and that can be done there. So, personal protection, home defense, range time, competitive shooting. The purpose to help you determine caliber and barrel length. Now, what's the perfect barrel length? What's the purpose? What's the perfect caliber? There is no perfect caliber. It's what you guys want it to be, if that makes sense. We have size and weight here. We talk about size and weight, how much the weapon weighs, and what caliber of bullet we put through there. And I did a whole little, I picked out a bunch of what I consider popular handgun rounds, and you go from 22 to 500 Smith and Wesson. The 500 Smith and Wesson is not a great overall. The 454 Casull, we would consider the 500 and the 454 Casull is what we consider bear guns. If you're in Alaska and stuff like that, you're not shooting you don't want to use a 22 for protection, especially against bears. Now, kind of give you an idea, they do make handgun caliber revolvers, but there are a lot of little problems with that. A handgun caliber revolver, like a 9 millimeter, for instance. So we take the 22 long rifle. If we look at the 45 long Colt, if we look at the 38 special, all of those are what's called rim cartridges, which means when you put them into the cylinder, they're going to stay on top. When you're using a handgun caliber like 9 millimeter or 40 Smith and Wesson or 45 auto, uh, all of those 380s, all of those need some kind of moon clip to keep them from falling all the way through this, because they're going to be rimless cartridges. Now they do make, a couple manufacturers make a rimless cartridge revolver that doesn't need the moon clip. The moon clip basically is a piece of metal that connects to each bullet through a correspondent ring. And when you put that in, when you put your star to get your rounds out, it pushes against the moon clip. and those clips get very flimsy after a little bit, and I'll try to show you one of those in a second. So the question would be, which size and weight and caliber do you want? And then they come in massive different sizes and everything, but you want something fun, it's easy to shoot, and economical to shoot. 22 is 4 cents a round, ladies and gentlemen. 9 millimeters, 28 cents a round. I would stay away from any of the 9 millimeters because you have to have the moon clip, but you go 38s. 38s are in the 40 range, and they'll do exact. 357 is going to be probably 50, maybe 60 cents a round at that point in time. And then you start getting into 44 mag and all that stuff, they get up higher and higher price. You want to have fun? Stick to that 38. Stick to that 22 is a fun little revolver piece, and they'll still do what you need to do. But in the long run, that's your decision to make at this point in time. I can tell you, you never want to buy, excuse me, buy a gun that the caliber is hard to find. Like in the past with 380 last year, maybe not last year, year before, 380 wasn't even in. There was none in town, and when you had 380, they were buck around. So the money was kind of expensive. When it starts getting expensive to shoot, what are you not going to do? You're not going to shoot. If you don't shoot, what's going to happen at that point in time? You're not going to get that muscle memory built that you need. So in my opinion, I would stick with 357, 38, or 22 in the revolver, and you should be fine. 45 long Colt's fun. Here's a little fact for you. You know where the terminology shot came from? Like, give me a shot of whiskey. That came from the 45 long Colt. What happens there is they would take a bullet out of their belt and put it on the table for the bartender. Bartender would pick up the bullet and pour them a shot of whiskey. So go out and tell your friends that. That's pretty cool there. A 45 long Colt. That was a fun little bullet there. That's the bullet that won the West there. All right. So recoil and caliber are one of those things. I'm going to suggest 357 Magnum on the list, of course, but I'm not going to suggest an air weight, but I am going to suggest an air rate 357 Magnum J frame. Now, I can tell you that if the 357 is too much recoil for you, you could go with a heavier revolver. When you get these J frames, they could be super light alloyed frames and become a little more challenging to shoot. I took this picture of this guy trying to shoot this cowboy gun. It looks like it's probably some 357 or something like that. And you see how he's trying to hold it down while he's doing this recoil. Obviously, this is a cowboy gun, so he's having some fun with it. But you look cool with your six shooter on, going to Perkins. But it's all decision you need to make there, recoil and caliber. Each one's going to have their own little deal. It's kind of fun once in a while to shoot a big gun, but after you've done it a couple times. Last week we took in a 8-inch 44 mag Smith. Yeah, 8-inch Smith. And my son Jacob talked me into shooting that thing. So I went in the back and I shot it. I didn't grimace at all. And so he shot it. He didn't grimace at all. And I shot it, and I grimaced just a little bit. He shot it again. It kicked our butts, man. I can tell you that. And then we traded that in to make ourselves even idiots. We traded it in for a 2-inch ported 44 mag. So we shot the big barrel. We thought, I'll go back there with them. Twice the recoil. I mean, it is a handful. It is a handful, and it's tough to shoot. But sometimes it's kind of fun to shoot those big caliber things. I've shot a 500 Smith and Wesson. I've done that. I don't want to ever do that again. They are thumpy thumpies. Yep. So there we go. Uh, why people pick a revolver more than anything? Why most people in good intentions tell a woman that you want a revolver because of the easy use, guys. I mean, this is kind of the deal, but they don't think like I think. I think the lady who went out to Bass Pro Shop and asked the salesman to sell her a revolver, that young man didn't think about that 65-year-old woman having to engage that trigger. having to pull the trigger. She went out there and she bought a brand new stainless steel 357 with a 4-inch barrel for carry. Now, what the heck? Did she tell the guy it was for carry? I'm not sure if he did or not, but was that the best gun for that lady? Absolutely not. And then she brought it in here and we did the class together. You know what she couldn't do? She couldn't pull the trigger. She could not pull the trigger. She bought the weapon, whether they didn't let her pull the trigger or she didn't pull the trigger before she got it there. And what did she end up doing? She had to sell it to me because you can't take a gun back once you bought it. And she bought a Smith and Wesson EZ, which was easy racking and easy loading, and she was able to do everything she needed to do. And she's here almost every week shooting it. Well, if she bought that revolver, maybe she got the first couple rounds downrange with that revolver. Was she gonna be happy after 2 months or 3 months or 4 months? Remember, we're buying a pistol for 20 years. Do you really think she's gonna have the strength 10 years from now if she can barely pull it now? This is what drives me crazy when people go out to places or people sell people weapons, what they want versus what they need. And as a salesman or as someone who tries to give the community more than I give, I just can't do that. When a man comes here and wants to buy his wife a gun, I don't let him buy the wife a gun unless she's here. Because if you tell me you want to buy your wife a revolver, I'm going to ask you, where is she? Because she may not be able to engage a trigger. And when they get here and all of a sudden they can engage a trigger, well, what would you have done if you'd have bought the gun? And once you take a gun off the lot, it's lost its value. I can't give her the full value she paid for it out there because they're not going to let you return it because it's a paperwork thing. It has to be changed. So it becomes so much more. So pr- make me a promise. Gentlemen, don't buy your wife a gun. And ladies, if you're going to the range or going someplace to buy a gun, make sure you go somewhere that you can shoot it before you buy it. Because if you don't, you're making a big mistake, which is going to be hard for you to get what you really want out of the thing. And if you hate the gun, you're not going to carry it. And the whole point of it is for your protection. All right. So what's the best revolver for beginners? I can't really tell you what's the best, but I could give you some opinions of mine. I think everyone should have one of these heritage. I think they're kind of cool. I think for less than a couple $100, they're a nice product to add to your portfolio. Now, if you know anything about me, when I say the word portfolio, that's a good thing. Because if you live in a house, I want you to think how many rooms are in your house. Then I want you to think how many guns are in each one of those rooms. And if you keep your firearm in your bedroom, but you spend most of your time in your living room or in your den, are you going to run across the house to grab the firearm, which may be put in a safe that you got to unlock before you get to the bad guy? Or should you have a firearm in each room? And that's probably not a bad idea for you to do. So, Heritage Rough Rider, would it be the greatest defensive product in the world? No, but let's talk about this. One in my hand, one not in my hand. It will do what it needs to do. If that makes sense. All right. So, Heritage Rough Rider, not a bad product. Good portfolio gun. You can pick them up anywhere from 150 to 200, 250. It all depends on where you go. Don't spend more than that though, because not only Heritage, but Ruger makes some, and Rock Island makes. There's tons of them out there, guys, and they all come in different woods and different styles and different finishes. We have a full camo one up front here. It's kind of cool, and they are chambered in 22 long rifle and 22 Magnum. And look at that, 9 shots, 9 shots. If you got 9 bad guys, well, then you got a problem. But beyond that, 9 will take you a long ways. 9 shots, hard cased, small bore. It gives you the durability. The only thing I could tell you these is they are made of metal, and they do tend to because they're not an alloy. Like some of the Glocks, and Smiths, and Tauruses, semi-automatic pistols, these are all alloy pieces. So alloyed is a mixture of steel and a metal of some kind, mostly aluminum or mild steel that doesn't rust as fast. These will rust if you don't take care of them, but none of you guys are not going to take care of them, so that makes a difference. So there's the first one. Number two, I told you that Ruger LCR. That's probably one of the best revolvers for the trigger engagement. Now it's not cheap. 490 to 560, 570 at 357, but that doesn't mean you have to shoot a 357. But when you go down in caliber, you still keep the price. So they actually have this unit in a polymer frame, which you see there, alloy tumbler or cylinder, very light trigger engagements, not real heavy. You got your white blade on front, you got the Valley, and you can run 22 mag. They have a 22 Magnum here. They have a 22 long rifle. 22 long rifle will be 8 rounds, 22, and that'd be a great backup. Because one thing I'll tell you about 22s is that no matter what we do, no matter what 22 ammo I put in your hands, sooner or later when you pull the trigger, it ain't going to go bang because it's a rim fired cartridge. So with a 22, you can actually engage through the cylinder to the next round if you had to. And if you come all the way back around, you probably could hit it and it will fire the next time because it's rim fired cartridge. Very lightweight, incorporates several novel features: polymer grips, trigger housing, monolithic receiver, and a consistent force trigger. So it's consistent double action trigger. You're not going to have that double single. You're not going to have that single trigger. It's going to be one consistent trigger pull, which in long, the single trigger pull like that will help us become more muscle memory effective. Because the more we engage that trigger, the more we work at it, the easier it becomes for us. Very nice piece. Highly recommended. All right, this is 686 plus. It's the newest one from Smith, 7 rounds. It's not new, but they've added the plus word because it allows you to put plus P in it. 357s is enough. You don't need 357 plus P. This actually comes in multiple different calibers. I shot today the 3 inch. I was very impressed with the 3 inch. It shot really, really well. It's got a very light trigger engagement. uh, I would tell you that if you're looking for something not cheap, it's going to be up there a little bit. You're looking somewhere paycheck and a half for most of us. You're looking 1100, something like that. But it's got the adjustable back sights. It has the front red focus point on the blade. Super comfortable. Very nice finish. Uh, Probably a good choice. You could go that 4 inch if you like. The three was really nice. I would tell you that the three would give you home defense range time as well. I personally, my personal favorite inch would be the 4 inch. The 4 inch itself will give you a lot of lot of things you could do. Get the right holster if you're going on a camping trip or anything else. And because it's that stainless steel finish, or that steel finish there, it's going to stay more mar resistant, more rust resistant, and it's not going to be as unnoticeable. Black's nice. It does have its thing, but I've got a thing for the stainless. It shows really nice. And those grips are ergonomical, super nice, very light, very easy, fits in your hand nice. It just feels comfortable. So the Smith and Wesson 686 plus. Those looking for a higher quality revolver to have some fun with the range, and still look no further than the 686. This is probably one of the best because it's a good name, Smith. I'm a Smith and Wesson lover. I tell you guys each week about the Equalizer. and I've been shooting any Smith product for a long period of time. I'm doing nothing against Glocks, nothing against Rugers, nothing against Taurus. But if I could pick one, I would tell you that's probably not the bad choice to go with. And it'd be a fun gun to shoot, and it's a fun gun that you can portfolio it down and give it to kids at the end. This is what happens as we get older. We start getting all these firearms, and then, oh, let's start here. Gentlemen, if you're on this tonight and you need to get yourself in position, you don't know how many times I talk to a widow that comes in here that knows nothing about the husband's guns that's in the safe. If I can give you some advice this evening, gentlemen, please take your wife in there, show her how to get in the safe, number one. Number two, make her a list with serial numbers and approximate cost. It's going to help her tremendously. I hold people's hands every week of some widow who comes in here that has no idea what they're worth, and we don't want her taken advantage of by somebody who goes up in front of her after the point. It's very um it's very challenging for them with dealing with everything else in the world to deal with firearms in the house. And it's just kind of one of those deals. And it happens every week. So please, please, please do me a favor. Make sure that you have some kind of idea, or get one of your brothers or whatever you want to do, that somebody else will help her when the time comes. Because us men, we die early, the women stay later. Most of those women are actually coming in here shooting after the fact. But we want to make sure they're taken care of. That's important. All right, so there we go, 686 plus. All right, here we go. GP 100. Ruger has been in the game for a long period of time. They make a beautiful product. Same thing, price point wise. You're getting up there a little bit. It is a workhorse. It will do everything you need. They come from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 8 inch barrels. People deer hunt with these guns. People deer hunt with any of the 4 inch stuff. I still would recommend the 357, and they actually, Ruger makes a couple of odd little size barrels. That 4.2, it's not exactly a 5 inch barrel, but it's not actually a 4 inch barrel. It's a little longer than that, and it gives you, but the weight on these and how they feel in your hand and that grip, it's such a beautiful, beautiful thing. You can look up your ounces and I didn't want to get into how much it weighed and all that stuff like that. You can do some homework, guys. I'm just picking out a couple things I think as a gun enthusiast that I think would be great options for you to look at and maybe pick the right one for you. Great gun. I would tell you more than anything else. The Ruger. It is a beautiful. That grip is a little big for some people's hands. If you're a small statured person, these big grips, but grips can change. You can change. That's the beauty of big revolvers. Is you can put wood grips on. You can put these rubber grips on. The rubber grips are good because they help with your. You get sweaty or in the rain or anything else like that. You're not going to. It's not going to slip out of your hands because of rubber. All right. So you can't take Taurus out of it. Now, Taurus has a lot of different revolver lines. The 85 line comes in a lot of different stuff, but a lot of people don't want to spend 1,000 to $700 to $1,000 on a revolver that they don't plan to shoot on a regular basis. That's where Taurus has got you covered. I mean, for a couple $100 less than that, you can pick up a lot of different revolvers from Taurus, and don't ever snub your nose at the used or pre-loved products. Because when someone trades a gun in, well, pawn shops get them for free. Basically, they're buying them so cheap. They're getting them so little money. Us gun stores have some conscience, right? We try to give them what it is, but remember, most of us in this business make very little on a new purchase, and the only way we really make money is when we buy something used. That's where we make our bigger bigger profits. So Taurus is a great option for you because it definitely gives you the ability to put yourself into a decent frame, decent gun. Now you look at the finish on this, it's no longer that shiny stainless. It's more of a matte finish, but who cares? The matte finish is not going to show any marring like that shiny chrome revolver, because that chrome revolver, imagine you shoot that and one of the cylinders or something comes up, or you're in the range and someone's shooting next to you and its casing comes over and hits the top of your gun, you're going to cry because you put a scratch in it. Remember, these are tools, guys. They're not pieces. People think the pieces are, and they are pieces are, but you got to understand that you got to be able to run it. But Taurus is a great option. There's a lot of different manufacturers they do. We've got a bunch of different Tauruses that we recommend on a regular basis. And still, if you're gonna dip your toes into the pool, make sure you're doing that 38 or 357. Especially, gentlemen, if you're leaving this at home for the missus. If she has not shot a 357 through a revolver, you need to get her here because we don't want to surprise her too much. This is like the shotgun at home, guys. I'm going to get the shotgun for the wife. Well, has the wife shot a shotgun? No. Have you shot a shotgun? No. You expect your wife to shoot a shotgun and you haven't shot one? I'm not a little guy. I'm a kind of a little, they consider a little overweight. And when they kick my ass when I'm shooting them, some lady who's 65 years old that weighs 190 pounds, soaking wet, and she's going to put a shotgun on her shoulder in the midst of a high defense situation and try to pull the trigger for the very first time. It's going to be somewhat intense if she's standing at all after that. So I can tell you, we've got bigger guys than me that come here and cry over getting shot and shooting a semi-automatic or a pump shotgun. So yeah, you need to make sure anything you pick, make sure she's shooting it as well. Yeah. So the Taurus Tracker, that's the line I would look at the most, and these come in all kinds of sizes, all kinds of weights. They come in at 357, they come in at 38, they come 22, 22 mag, 17 HMR. I mean, there are tons. This one here looks like it's ported, so it's probably a bigger caliber. What that does, that porting at the end of the barrel, releases some of the gas that's pushing out. I don't know if you guys know this, but the powder that's in a bullet burns off and becomes a gas, and that gas sends the projectile out the front of the barrel. Now, while that gas is escaping through those ports, it lowers the recoil management and keeps it from lifting so much because when that bullet comes out of that barrel, the gases want to push it up and back. Well, when its gases are releasing in front of the gun and behind the gun, when the barrel bullet comes out, that porting helps out a little bit. Problem with porting is the gases are on fire and that port is facing up. So if you're shooting that gun in a short combat situation, those those struts there, those those holes can have flames coming out of them. And if you're shooting in low light conditions, you can use some of your night vision when that flash of that gun cuts off there. So Taurus 627. All right, an old faithful Ruger's SP 101. Now, the SP 101 has been a good choice for ladies for a long period of time. And because if you look at the handle, you look at the handle of this gun, it looks like a small frame handle. A lot of the guys don't like these because of the small frame handle. They like the one, the Ruger GP 100 because it's got a bigger, fatter grip on there. If you still look at this picture real quick, I'll back up real quick to kind of show you what I'm talking about. Look at that grip of the GP 100 versus this grip right here. You could tell right off the bat that that grip on the SP 101 is going to be a little tighter and a little smaller, which may help someone with smaller stature to become a better shooter because they can get their hands on it. Now, any of these grips on any of these guns can be changed at any time. Packmeyer makes a ton of grips. You can go on any YouTube, I mean, any Amazon or any kind of thing like that and pick up grips on a regular basis and change them out color or change them out style and make it easy for you. All right. All right. In conclusion, my final thoughts: revolvers can be a heck of a lot of fun with an old school charm. That's kind of the cool thing about them. But there are plenty of models that perform on par with semi automatic pistols. Now, I told you before, I highly recommend if you are looking for your very first pistol, three things. Make sure you shoot it. Make sure that you think about a semi automatic first, because a lot of people go to revolvers for two reasons. One, they don't think they can rack a slide, and two, they don't think they can load a magazine. And if you have dexterity problems enough that you can't rack a slide in or put rounds in a magazine, then you need to look at the semi-automatic Smith and Wesson EZ first, because that's the easiest racking gun on the market, and then the equalizer will be second. Now, chances are, if you cannot rack those two, the chances of you being able to engage the trigger on a revolver would be challenging as well for you. So that's something we need to get our head around. And I had that this weekend. I was at a gun show over the weekend and had a gentleman in a little one of those carts going around the show, and he was looking for a semi-automatic or revolver that he could engage. I'm guessing his age was probably in his mid to late 70s, and he's in that chair. He wants to get something that will help him, protect him, maybe his equalizer. And we went through the whole table, and the guy could not rack the EZ. He just didn't have the dexterity, which is very unlikely that happens. But then when he wanted to get something smaller, I told him the smaller stuff's not going to work. And I physically had to go through each pistol with him and prove to him that he's making a mistake if he buys something without shooting it first. And guess who he's coming to this Saturday? Now, we were in Palmetto, Florida, and he's driving all the way down there Saturday to make sure we find the right pistol for him, because it's justice that he needs. And to have something like that, and his discipline, a finger on the trigger, and all that stuff, the revolver is probably the best choice. But we got to find a revolver he can engage a trigger, because he just doesn't have the dexterity at this point in time to work it out. So we're going to get him figured out this weekend. So, if you are thinking about adding a revolver, by all means do it. Do I think you need to put the revolver ahead of the semi-automatic pistol? Absolutely not. Semi-automatic first, then add the revolver to your portfolio. Choosing the best gun for you is a pretty personal decision, but I hope by now that I've given you an idea of what to consider and a few guns to start your research. Now, your research can be done very easily, just what you're doing this evening. First of all, by clicking that subscribe button, maybe sharing it with a friend or a family member, maybe hitting one of those memberships for us. We would appreciate that as much as possible. And then I want you to tell me one thing and one thing only. Which revolver tickled your fancy tonight? What do you have? What do you like? What's out there that I did not mention? Hey Jake, grab the battery for me, son. Jake, hang on a second, folks. Oh, there we go. All right. All right. So let's go over and get out of this and get back to my beautiful face, if you don't mind. All right. And we're going to look at some comments. Comments, comments, comments. All right. So let's go here. Natasha. How you doing, sweetheart? Oh, she's going to hate this because Natasha doesn't want she, every time she watches one of these, she wants to buy something else. So let's go here. All right, Natasha, let's see what you had to say. All right. Oh, I'm blind. I'm here in Vegas. Trip was complete, concealed. What? Concealed long story, of course. Oh, I wouldn't miss the life. Thank you, Tasha. Yeah, it's QT time. She's not supposed to be in Vegas. Natasha's not in Vegas, ladies and gentlemen. All right. Let's go to the next one. Let's see what's going on here. Pull that one out of there. And let's hit the next one. All right. Howdy from Arkansas. There we go. Watching on YouTube. Love your stuff, John and the team. We appreciate. I have a Smith and Wesson 642 airweight, but it's not my EDC. Everyone know what EDC means? Everyday carry. That's okay. That's awesome. It kind of gives you a little bit, that's one of those things. Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. So have an ability to have a couple different things. My everyday carry, and people laugh and joke about it, but I carry the Diamondback 9 millimeter in that little small pocket in my front pocket there, and it's my best there. Thank you for being on there, buddy. We appreciate it very much. You are the best. All right. Let's go here next. Let's hit this one. Oop. All right. Scroll this down. I'm trying to figure all this out. I really do like the idea of carrying a Smith and Wesson Model 649 Bodyguard in my pocket, but not sure this is the caliber on it. Well, like I said before, if you had to physically use a weapon and people are psychologically, most people shoot a pistol, and when they're shooting, they're letting the gun kick like this because that's what they see on TV. That's exactly why most people, when they're shooting a weapon, they let the gun kick because they're letting it kick. So it wouldn't matter if you shot a 22. You get 10 rounds of 22 in your pocket, you're gonna be good, buddy. So if you wanted to put a little 22 in your pocket and work it, you ain't gonna have a problem. You're not gonna have recoil management to worry about. Is it gonna knock the guy down? Most likely, but most true knockdown power isn't. It's a myth. It isn't real because most people who get shot by a pistol fall anyways because that's what they see on TV. So give it a try. Would you know would you rather have a 22 with 8 rounds in it, or would you rather have something with five and a higher recoil? So you got recoil management involved in everything else. There's no difference really. It's what you're comfortable with. You can't wish you had a weapon on you. You need to have the weapon on you. So whatever it is. All right, so let's go here. Revolver love from Hillary. Thank you. Oh, Hillary, that's my future daughter-in-law. Hi, sweetheart. I love you. Mark J, hi. I'm glad you said hello. Thank you very much. Oh, my buddy Chris. Chris Welch, how you doing, pal? I hope the family's doing well. The grandbaby's doing okay. Well, I six when I can carry 15. That's exactly right, Chris. They don't make a 15-round revolver, but I truly agree. And this is what my whole thing I keep telling everybody. Hey, it isn't about changing out. I haven't hit my head, guys. I'm really telling you, you need a semi-automatic pistol. I'm telling you, you need a semi-automatic pistol. But you know, Chris says, why six when you can have 15? Amen, Chris. Amen, brother. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks, Chris. Hope your family's doing well, man. Stop by and shoot with us, buddy. All right, Dave. Dave from Panagorda. Let's see what Dave has to say. Hello from Panagorda. Okay. I had a Taurus 85 ultralight, 38 for 20 years. Of course, it's snappy and but very light. Fits anywhere. I know I want to fall in case of an emergency. I know I can't go wrong. That's true. That's true. He's saying that the revolvers are simplistic. They're easy. It's got a little kick to it, but you know what's there, and you know it's there, and that's kind of one of those deals where having it's better than not having. And this is where I try to tell everybody all the time. We need to get to muscle memory. No matter what it is, whatever pistol we decide we're going to shoot, no whatever we plan to do, we can't be thinking about it. You can't be standing there in front of the bad guy going, "Now what did John say? Proper grip, proper stance, proper trigger control." Wait a minute, bad guy. Proper this, proper that, proper no, it's all going to be muscle memory at that point in time. So if you're comfortable carrying it, that's what it needs to be. And the more time we spend behind the weapon running it, the easier it becomes. Am I expecting you guys? Now I have done this. It's been a while, but when we had our old outdoor range, we had 20-yard steel. If you hold that revolver real steel and you run that trigger really nice. You can shoot steel with it with a 1.78-inch barrel. You can do it. It's just a little bit more challenging when we get in a high defense situation. Remember, the FBI statistics say the average gunfight is less than 3 yards. Right? The average gunfight is 1.213 rounds or some bullshit like that, and it's happened at 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning. If your ass ain't up at 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning out somewhere you need a firearm, you're probably going to be safe, guys. You're probably going to be safe. There's Chris again. Oh, he repeated himself about why why carry why 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 5 when I can carry 15. Yep, yeah, I agree on that, buddy. All right. There we go. What's this one? I got my son a barkeep. Yes, for Christmas. Those are awesome. Now the barkeeps are the beginning revolver I showed you the heritage, and they have a little tiny barrel on them. I actually I went to the gun show about 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and they had the pink ones and with the chrome and stuff like that. And I brought those to the show to kind of play around and to see what would happen. We sold every one of them. They're a little tiny. The barkeep was designed to be a small one that sat in the barkeep's vest as he needed it. He could use it. That's pretty awesome. Single action. It also reloading it is a pain. Yeah, there's no easy way to do that, but it's a world of fun. That's what he's saying. It's plinking and all that stuff like that. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it very much. That's awesome. Glad you said something. We appreciate it very much. Hang on, I'm losing you guys. All right, see if that's plugged in there. All right. All right, you still there? I've got everybody up. I forgot to plug the stupid thing in there. Hopefully you're all still with me. Give me a thumbs up if you can. All right. Good. Yeah. Okay. I hear myself. So I'm good. I carry a Canic, a chunk of steel 686, 3.6 Cruiser 77 says. Uh, I carry a chunk of steel 686, 3.6-inch barrel in the winter because I liked it. I just trusted it, and I ain't getting any younger. Me neither, brother. And it gets heavier. LOL. Only when you go into the mountains hiking. Yeah, I've been. Yeah, that's probably true. But it's better to have that. I think in the mountains may have some little critters that you don't want to run into, if that's the case. Okay. And I also, he said something else. He also's got an old Rossi 38 snake gun. Beautiful. Beautiful. That's awesome. Thank you, Cruiser 77. We appreciate that very much. Here we go. Just one more thing he's going to say. The thing with the Bursa, with the, sorry, I'm so blind when it comes to shit. There's hard to rack. Yes, yes. Try a Walther PPK. It's even worse than that. So those are tough. Take take fix. I told her try the easy. She needs to try the easy. She'll love it, buddy. There's no question there. All right. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, guys. We keep popping here. Pop the Weasel. Hey, buddy, how are you? Good to see you. We're having a little bit of computer issues tonight, so I appreciate you all being here this evening. It means an awful lot to me each week. You guys show up with these things. Each week we come up with something else. I hope this helped you tremendously. You mean the world to me. I'd never thought that I'd be able to meet this many people and be able to do these on a regular basis as we are at this point in time. It really touches me each time to see you guys add on here every Tuesday night. People are here uh, saying hello and doing everything. So I want to say three things to you guys. God bless. Be safe and remember you are your first line of defense. Please remember if you get a chance to hit that bell icon, that like, and that subscribe button. And every time we upload a video, you guys will be the first to know. And make sure you're not just doing my channel. We're getting a lot of things happening to us YouTube people, especially in the gun community, where people are becoming unsubscribed for some reason or another. And I would highly recommend that you make sure that you are subscribed to my channel. So every time we do upload something, you guys will know about it. We have been cutting back a little bit on our daily daily videos. We're trying to do about 3 a week, and we're working on it. We're trying to use the live as a push off towards the other videos we're doing. So this week we're going to work on a couple different revolver videos that will help you extend yourself there a little bit. Until next time, God bless, guys, and we will see you next Tuesday, 6 p.m. Be here or be square, or be square, and you don't want to be square. All right. I love you guys, and good night.